And hello, dear Astro friends. It's Melanie on the 4th of March 2024 in the week building up to or gearing down to, if you will, from the waning moon perspective to the new moon that we will have on the 10th of March, next Sunday, and of course in Pisces, and of course, for that matter, the last new moon in winter 2023-24. Spring is around the corner. We see signs here on the west coast with first cherry blossoms, even daffodils, even some rhodos. If you follow my Facebook page, the astrology page, you can see photos of the first bloom, the emerging spring. And yes, Pisces is all about potential and promise. And yeah, Pisces is also about surrendering, releasing, letting go of winter, all of or of old vibrations that don't serve us anymore. And that comes, of course, also with the Saturn in Pisces years that we are right smack in the middle of now. Started last March and March 2023, and actually still goes until Valentine's 2026. That seems to be, yeah, still quite a while, right? 2 years, but next year, 2024, Saturn will make a transition into Aries and back into Pisces, so it's dancing sort of on that emergence point from winter to spring, from Pisces to Aries. Anyway, this next new moon that we will have on the 10th of March will be packed with Pisces energy and also catalyze a few shifts that are coming just before the new moon or just after the new moon. Let me show you a picture. It says more than 1,000 words, especially if you are familiar with the astrological symbolism and language. So here is the Pisces field. Here is the new moon around 20 degrees of Pisces. So especially if you have anything in Pisces, especially around 20 degrees, or also in the opposing Virgo vibe or in the square energy of Sagittarius or Gemini, you're definitely affected by that new moon. And the new moon brings new beginnings from the end of Pisces perspective, from surrounded, sandwiched by Saturn in Pisces and also Neptune in Pisces, while Mercury is just barely in Aries. One of the shifts just before the new moon on the 9th, Mercury goes into Aries, and then just after the new moon on the 11th, Venus will go into Pisces. Then we'll have even more of a Piscean field. But as I said, the new moon is sandwiched by Saturn and Neptune / Mercury. So what does that mean? It also pulls these energies together, especially of Saturn Neptune, and Saturn Neptune will actually align. That's a big deal next year, 2025, end of March, and then again end of January 2026, when just before they both go into Aries. What's Saturn Neptune in combination? It can be a manifestation from Saturn perspective of the subtle, vibrational, energetic vibes that we send out and that the world is collectively sending out. So we see with Saturn, typically we see the effects in reality. We have to go through things, we have to learn, often through pain and reality checks, what works, what doesn't, and what the effects are of our action. So Saturn is also known to be a karmic planet. And now with Neptune in combination, that can have to do with, on a low vibration where Saturn gives us lessons, right, can have to do with illusion, delusion, confusion, and overwhelm, and a certain vibration that's like the weather, right, and like the climate, and the climate in fact itself too, that has now washed over humanity in the last 12 years, since 2012, when Neptune first entered Pisces. Neptune is 13 and a half years typically in a sign, and also in Pisces until 2025-26. So what's been going on, especially in the Neptunian fields of media, is a prime example of Neptune. Neptune also has to do with chemistry and concoctions. Pisces is about blends, so a blending of energies that have either worked really well from a Saturn perspective or have not worked well and have drained our energy. And so the new moon wants to make us more aware in connection with Saturn of where we need energetic boundaries, where we need to protect our energy field like a membrane or like a healthy immune system. That would be Saturn in Pisces. And then also where we can, from a Neptune perspective, allow things to just run their course, to flow out of our system, to bless what has passed like a wave, and not give that too much energy, allow it to go back to where it came from and to the universe, Mother Earth, and all the help we get from a subtle energy field to help process that and help us release. Speaking of releasing, with the new moon at 20 degrees and 16 minutes of Pisces, just at the beginning of the third decade of Pisces, the third 10 degrees, from 20 to 30, is when the third decade begins, and it has a Pisces undertone on top of the Pisces season. So that is a lot about letting go and letting be. And maybe that can be a hard call, says Saturn, even though paradoxically it should be so easy, right? That's typically the Pisces dilemma. And so how can we allow things to to be washed out, old vibrations, letting go, even if it's hard experiences around letting go have really come up with Saturn in Pisces since last March, right, around the last new moon in Pisces. And so that would be also a good inventory around all sorts of life experiences where we learned to adapt, to go with the flow, and to let go, right? That's all about Saturn in Pisces. And with that, to maybe really practice what we have been aware of or learned with spiritual teachings. Spiritual teachings is quite the combination also of Saturn and Neptune, which, as I said, will come together next year and the following, early 2025 and 2026. So if we see what's going on currently and can be overwhelming and confusing, if we see it all from a spiritual dimension, that can be helpful. And one of the key pieces here, when I think of Buddhism and when I think of Pisces, would be the teachings around non-attachment. How attached are we to certain outcomes and to certain, in other words, wanting to have control over reality where there is no control? And by nature, it's our job to show up with our best and offer what we can, but not trying to play God, trying to also, change people where they don't change, right? Or where we are in our life is impermanence. So impermanence being another important teaching from a Buddhist perspective, where things come and go, and we'd like to hold on to what we enjoyed so much, or what we just got used to and was convenient and stuff, right? So Saturn teaches us in Pisces also about impermanence, the laws of impermanence, the laws of things come and go, and how can we be at ease and at peace with that. The Pisces new moon will certainly set an accent, accentuate that as well. What is going on around the new moon? As I said, Venus, so let's start first with Mercury actually. Mercury enters Aries before the new moon. That will be an evening here, our Pacific time, evening of Saturday, March 9th. And Mercury will be in Aries for quite a long time because Mercury will go retrograde on April 1st to 25th and will be in Aries until May 15th. So that is more than 2 months. And that gives us plenty of opportunity to show up with Mercury in Aries alignment. And Mercury in Aries is very direct, spontaneous. I had actually a beautiful talk this morning here on FaceTime with an Aries friend who has, also Chiron North Node on her sun. So everybody who was born mid Aries, especially first days of April, have now also this alignment of Chiron and the North Node. Let me just feature that a little bit before I go back to Mercury in Aries, because that is a bigger backdrop too. And the alignment of Chiron and the North Node is in fact exact today on April 4th. Only comes when they two meet. The North Node, South Node, they always go retrograde, and Chiron goes forward. So Chiron has a 50-year cycle, and the nodes have an 18.5-year cycle. So they only come together every about 19 to 20 years. So it's pretty special. And that will be also part of the total solar eclipse on April 8th in Aries. What's with that Chiron North Node in Aries piece? The North Node in Aries since last July has been incentivizing us to strengthen our Aries muscles. In other words, be brave, be bold, show up for ourselves, as ourselves, and take action, step into the new, even though you don't know how it's gonna turn out. Go for it anyway, and also approach life more in an innocent way rather than all that weighing of options and weighing of experiences that could influence some actions we need to step into, and also be really authentic, be true to ourselves rather than on the low vibrational Libra side, making compromising ourselves, being too oriented towards them, to please them, to not stir up the pot or something, right? To not confront anybody. And that's basically too much, is in a not so great way supporting or pursuing peace, but peace more like as for like trying to be a peacekeeper and a pleaser, right? So nobody gets hurt, nobody gets ever offended. Aries would say, yeah, be direct, be truly you, and also take initiative. So this friend of mine and myself, we had a really great conversation, and we there were new topics that we introduced, but we've known each other for maybe 2 decades. But certain stuff we haven't actually had on our radar, or it wasn't our topics typically. And today, new topics and figuring out, yeah, we actually see things in a similar way. And if we don't, which is a good sign of friendship, we can have a good discussion nevertheless. So that's great. So that is like, yeah, what's new and exciting, says Aries, and bring it on. And then how is Chiron involved? Chiron is the wounded healer archetype and has been in Aries since 2019 and still until 2027, so only halfway through Aries. And so there has been a lot of wounding, as we know, in the medical field, in the whole dynamic of new medicine, new approach to medicine, but maybe it's another expression of the war medicine. So medicine in its own, the established medicine I'm talking about, it's self-understanding as a war medicine, as fighting enemies, trying to kill what is dangerous and can affect us, which may have a justification, yet if it becomes a whole protocol, a whole philosophy, a whole paradigm, I should say, then it might be not really balanced, not really looking at new ways of looking at the body, looking at the immune system, looking at the microbiome, right? Rather than trying to kill what's in the water, improving the quality of the water, right? So we are now in a turning point when it comes to the medical field. It's like really a pioneering phase since Chiron in Aries, yet there has been lots of wounding that took us there. And it's also about early wounds that have come up in the last few years through various triggers, so to say. Early wounds can have, Aries is about early in life, baby phase, and they can have to do with trauma, with abandonment, with overwhelm, with abuse, all of that, right? So we've seen a lot of that also when it comes to First Nations and who was here first in any country that was colonized. There's a lot of healing and a lot of medicine from the first people is coming forward. This is beautiful. Then, so this is now the time, the spring or pre-spring even, like March, April, with Chiron and the North Node in Aries, also feeding into the eclipse on the 8th of April to, so to reactivate something or newly activate something that wants to come forward for us to be fresh and new approaches, and also being true to ourselves, being authentic. And that is in a way a higher vibration than the Aries low vibration of warfare, which we see so much of, right? And for that we need peace, but for peace we don't need more aggression doesn't lead to peace. A new approach can lead to peace. Then so then Mercury will join Chiron and the North Node in Aries on March the 9th. And as I said, will go retrograde on March 1st to 25th and still be in Aries till May 15th. So Mercury is actually much more supported in Aries than it was in Pisces, right? Mercury in Pisces is in exile, it's called. So it's furthest away from Virgo, which is rules. So the mind is not so much inclined to be in this logical, problem-solving, practical mode, which seems to be the mercurial default. But there's always a multitude of expressions to all these combinations of signs and planets, right? So I don't want to, give the impression one is better than the other. It's just different, right? So Mercury in Pisces has been very beneficial and very conducive for imagination and to really go in the flow, go with the flow with the conversations and see what you overall feel and take a pulse basically of the energy of the conversation rather than being so rational and looking at the details of what has been talked about, more like how have we conversed, right? And what has been my vibration, what has been the vibration in conversations, in news, in any messages, and how can you either flow with that, attune to that, connect better with people in conversations, or also let things go. If it's really not your vibe, it's not your tribe, and it's not the way of being in sync, right? So it's always a, gauging of that. There's no one right answer, but really getting a feel for what's been conveyed and what the easiest and most natural way of dealing and or resolving something, right? Pisces also about resolution would be. Then as Mercury goes into Aries, Mercury is considered the esoteric ruler of Aries. Maybe it has to do literally with the brain, with the head, which also Aries rules. And of course, we need that for Mercury for any mental, cerebral, communicative expression. And so, with Mercury so long in Aries, a lot can go on in our heads. And we can also come up with ideas really fast, right? And we might be, as Mercury retro can teach us, a bit too fast, right? A bit too, making conclusions too fast. Firing, right? Aries first fire sign, first sign of them all. Firing our ideas or our conclusions, our judgment, and then we might need to backtrack with Mercury retro, right? So again, on the positive note, it also has to do with how we speak to ourselves and um, how do we speak our truth? How do we speak from our authentic self and express ourselves? And there's lots to discover and lots to try ourselves out in new ways again in that whole communicative realm, in the um, also in the media, of course, right? In any place where people come together, learn from each other, talk to each other, and also what we read, for example, right? Maybe we find new interests with Mercury in Aries. Or we basically, Mercury in Aries also give something a try, see how whether this is for you, and you might actually figure out quite fast. And then, of course, it's also, as I said, how we talk to ourselves, how we really express ourselves genuinely in our communication. Then also this week until next Monday, Venus will leave Aquarius and go into Pisces on March 11th, where she'll be until April 4th. Venus is also traditionally well positioned in Pisces. Venus is the exalted in Pisces. So that is like a mermaid energy. That's an energy of love is one. We are all connected. So it's really transcending division, especially when she passes Saturn, which will be, I believe, on the 21st, yes, of March. Venus meets and passes Saturn in Pisces and approaches Neptune, which she will meet and pass just before entering Aries. So that will be on April 3rd exactly. And so this is a beautiful energy to connect and to really connect again in a loving way that is not even so person-centered or so specific. It's more about the vibrations that we feel, and it's not conditional either, right? It's about the vibrations we feel and the presence of something. Can be a nature, can be a being, a sentient being, can be a human, and also how we show up in a really loving way, regardless who's in front of us and what they think about us and blah blah, right? So Venus in Pisces is really about oneness and connection. And when she is end of Pisces and Mercury goes retro on April 3rd, that would be a beautiful time to reconnect with people. And so here's again the Pisces new moon chart, and you can see Chiron and the North Node in it. Right? That's exact today. You can see Mercury coming out of Pisces, going into Aries. You can see Venus just about to go into Pisces, and then we'll have, once Venus is in Pisces from the 11th on, a very Piscean, very fluid, very liquid field here with Venus, Saturn, the moon for the first day, and the sun and Neptune. So this shift, it's been quite a shift since the last month with so much Aquarius and so much Capricorn before Pluto entered Aquarius. So it seems like since we have so many planets currently in the winter signs, right? When we have that season as well, the solar season, and then Venus and Mercury move through those signs, it gets a lot of emphasis in these energy fields. And as you see, currently there is almost everything, almost all the planets are between here early Aquarius, Pluto, to mid Taurus, Uranus. That's a lot. That is called a wedge configuration, right? So everything is within 1, 2, 3.5 signs, and then you have some antidotes, so to say, some contrasting energies. In this case, just Lilith in Virgo and just the South Node in Libra, balancing it all out, but barely. So what's going on with the Aquarius to Taurus energy? This is literally the last 2 signs of winter, the first 2 signs of spring. So that also shows us that in a bigger collective way, we are coming out of a old and cold cycle with winter and moving into something fresh and new. Yet, of course, it's not necessarily easy and brings up, as we said, with Chiron in Aries, early wounds, and takes also to get used to it and become familiar and comfortable sort of with the new and not so known yet. That's more the Uranus and Taurus I'm talking about, and coming out of the old, known, yet not really much alive anymore energy. So you might feel that in different areas of your life with yourself. It's like, okay, it's time for really a new, fresh beginning, a new approach, a new era, if you will, right? How can we contribute to all of this, right? That's the question of Aquarius, Pluto in Aquarius, right? How can we, as humans, contribute to this big shift that we're going into? And this year is a transition year for Pluto into Aquarius. It's now in Aquarius until September 1st. And then right on time for the US elections, September 1st till November 19th, when the elections have just happened, Pluto will be once more back in Capricorn. And on that note, the US had last year their Pluto return. So actually, I should say 2022, 2023, definitely the 2 years, and it's been building up for years, right? But now this will be the last hurrah of the Pluto return for the US right around the elections. So again, with the Pluto in Capricorn theme of old empire, in what regard is what we see presented by those in charge, by the bosses, by the leaders, an expression of the shadow of Capricorn, an expression of corruption and abuse of power and stuff like that, right? So, and how can that transform? Pluto in Aquarius for the US, Pluto Capricorn return for the US. I wrote an article about that last June 2022, and I'm currently writing an article on Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and his presidency as an independent at this juncture. So I find that super exciting and very interestingly aligned to what's going on astrologically, especially since he had massive Pluto transits over all his Capricorn, end of Capricorn, Sun and planets. So stay tuned for that on my Astro News blog. Then also this week, back to this week, we are moving from the Scorpionic part, the central part of Pisces that we're in currently, where it's about going deeper and tuning in what's going on behind the scenes. Politically speaking, also the trial against Julian Assange, that fits right into the Scorpio-Neptune piece. Then we have on Sunday the 10th, right, with the new moon, we're moving into the last 10 degrees of Pisces until literally spring equinox. So 10th to the 19th this year, because of the leap year, that's a Pisces undertone. So double Pisces, end of Pisces, double Pisces. So this is about surrender, letting go, and allowing things to flow out, run their course, and offer good vibrations with it, and yeah, letting go. Then we have the moon now, since this afternoon in Capricorn, waning moon, of course, before the new moon, in Capricorn, all day tomorrow, Tuesday, and also on Wednesday the 6th until 3:04 p.m. Pacific. So the Capricorn moon is may bring a more serious mood and yeah, more down to earth, right? But also it can help us achieve things and stay on it if it's important, not give up easily, be very grounded, be mature. It's like a grandmother energy. And then the moon goes into Aquarius from the 6th afternoon on until all days Thursday, and Friday until 5ish p.m. So Friday the 8th, and a moon Aquarius that is much more oriented towards systems and friends, community. So coming together, right? Coming together also from the Capricorn background, with the Capricorn background of our experience, maturity, and with that, what do we contribute? Who are our people and our friends? So all of that comes in very strongly. And while at the same time, since it's a waning moon, it's also about releasing, right? Releasing where, from the Pisces perspective, haven't been really good vibes, has been maybe too cold or too distant and stuff like that. But also releasing attachments. And then the moon goes into Pisces, where she will be new on Sunday. Into Pisces on Friday evening, all day Sunday, all day Saturday, until Sunday, also in the evening, 5ish p.m. So Pisces moon is can be a very smooth, easy, relaxed energy, but it can also make us feel, depending what we have in Pisces or in Virgo or in Sagittarius, Gemini, for example, can also make us feel overwhelmed, right? Can also make us feel like, oh my gosh, this is all invading. This energy is exuding there and it is invading my field. So I feel overwhelmed and stuff, right? Toxic, right? So being in tune with what's there and really trusting our intuition, where we need to go, where we need to flow, what we need to release. Yeah, so I believe that's it for this week. And as I said, the new moon comes on Sunday. I will write a blog article, of course, for the new moon, as well as for Mercury in Aries and for Venus in Pisces. And you can see me again on this channel next Monday. Wish you well for this week, and check out my blog, check out my Facebook page, and also, yeah, I have also a class starting, Astro 202, for those who already have background with the basics when it comes to planets and signs. So this class, 8-week class on Fridays, starting the 15th and going in until early May the 3rd, I believe, is yeah, May the 3rd, is about ascendant and houses. So planets in the planetary archetypes, how they show up in the different areas of life, right? Which is represented by the houses in astrology. And we also talk about the ascendant, the rising sign as the point of self, and we talk about the midheaven, MC, zenith, as the point, it's known to be the point of purpose. Let's see what comes up in the class. As always, we apply all the learning and understanding directly to participants' charts. And you can join us either in person here in Victoria or online, because it will be a hybrid class, as has been happening in the last few years. Hybrid class, some of us can join us online, and those who can and would like to are welcome in person. You can find out more about this on my Facebook page, where I have a specific event page for it, and you can also find it in my, if you're not on Facebook, in my newsletter, in my Astro News newsletter, which comes out for the new moon and always for the new moon and full moon. So the next one will be for the Pisces new moon. Hope you can join us. That would be awesome. Let me know if you have questions. And thanks for your support for this channel. It's steadily growing very organically. No ads, all just authentic likers. Thank you so much, and wishing you a beautiful week into the new moon in Pisces. Bye.